So welcome. This is our annual high-speed rail policy forum. We did this last year. We had a great turnout, and we've got an even better turnout this year. We've got a pretty full, chewy program. So without further ado, I think what I'd like to do is turn it over to Anna Berry, who's the immediate past chairman of this committee, and she'll make introductions and comments from Paul and Jeff.
Thank you, Chris. I'm also newly Vice President and Program Manager with HNTB Corporation, and very happy to be here. I wish Al was here, but happy to help. I also welcome you on behalf of APTA and our committee. Our committee, by the way, is the second largest committee at APTA, and we are devoted to helping to lead this mode of transportation into a fully integrated multimodal system of mobility. First, we're going to hear from APTA leadership, and after the leadership remarks, I have a few more housekeeping messages to share, then we'll jump right into our exciting program. Our APTA Vice Chair, Jeff Nelson, is with us today. Jeff is APTA Vice Chair and General Manager at the Rock Island County Metropolitan Mass Transit District in Moline, Illinois, also known as Metrolink, which is easier to say.
Much easier.
Our Chair, Nuria Fernandez, wanted to be here but could not, and here is her more than suitable substitute. Jeff?
Good morning. Thank you, Anna. And for those that joined us last night, there was a lot of chatter in the room, a lot of fun chatter, and I think at the volume of discussion, today's ideas are going to be pretty dramatic and hopefully very fruitful for the end. December 4th, an auspicious day. 4 years ago, reauthorization of the federal bill actually included high-speed rail. So in that FAST Act, it was really a kickoff, a starting point, and probably more importantly, some credibility to a group of folks that have been working very hard. Ironically, I was on the APTA Executive Committee back when the high-speed rail group came under our tent. So Bill Maher came to us and said, we really need to understand the whole mobility of our country, and rail is such a key piece of that. And we're very happy that they came under the umbrella, and more importantly, you look at this and the number of people that show up for these forums, it's incredible. The high-speed rail and the passenger rail high performance is really that key piece. As we look at the high-speed elements of rail, it's not as much as a delivery method, it is the whole piece of developing into our backbone. The committee, along with the commuter rail, has worked with the Federal Railroad Administration to really facilitate faster and more efficient introduction of modern train sets. As a result of these efforts, last November, about a year ago, FRA published some new rules on those standards, which will hopefully speed up project approvals. As a follow-up effort, railroad operators and manufacturers are now working to improve the FRA regulations on rolling stock. But today, our discussion goes well beyond that. APTA has developed a strategic plan. I'm not sure how many of you have seen that APTA strategic plan, but our executive team and board approved that a couple of months ago. And I want to really talk about how this fits into that plan. First, high-performance passenger rail is an integrated part of our mobility network. As we look at our national mobility challenges, rail will play an incredible role in that. Public transportation must be the backbone of transportation. We have a lot of influences out there, technology-wise and challenging-wise, but the transit really has to be that backbone, and it's a bus and rail that is really going to deliver that mobility for our community. Second, workforce development. Holy cow, as we look at what's changed in the last 5 years in our world in technology, both bus and rail, workforce development is going to be very prevalent in our organizations to move these ideas forward. And APTA is all on board with the whole workforce development, and they're really working to develop some tools and elements for the trade to really take advantage of that. And third, probably what I think APTA is all about, it's advocacy. Advocacy for transportation. As we see Ward McCarricker and his team work the Hill, it's a change day. His team is top notch, and probably more importantly, we have really shifted into a go-to group of people. So the questions that are asked now are actually being asked through APTA. And instead of chasing the question, we are now part of that question. I'm very excited. Paul's put together an incredible team here. I think we're going to see that roll out every day. As the Vice Chair of APTA, I assure you this forum plays a very critical role in the strategic elements of APTA. I want to conclude, this is our sixth, I think, policy forum at APTA, and a great deal of passion amongst the APTA members. As I said, the chatter last night was incredible. I'm guessing a couple more coffees, this group will really fire up, and I look at today's agenda, and I think the forum is incredible. The ideas that are generated will be very helpful and probably more importantly, allow us to strategically point the direction for APTA as we go and support these elements on the Hill. So again, I'm excited to see the leaders, visionaries, practitioners, policymakers all joining us today. And I thank you for the contributions for these causes and collaborating with us. So for me, it's an honor to travel here from Illinois. And a little backstory on that, obviously, we had a former president from Illinois and a former Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, from Illinois. And they were all in. They were all in. And I think our challenge is to make sure that what they embraced continues to be embraced with the new Congress. So it'll be my honor now to introduce Paul Skoutelas, our CEO of APTA. Paul.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I need to stand up here because the way this room is configured, it's like a wide football field, right? It's left to right. I mean, the depth is just 2 rows. I can actually see that even without my glasses. But this is great because I get a chance to exercise my neck, to back and forth. But I do want to welcome you here, welcome you to Washington. I know many of you have traveled pretty far to get here, not only within the domestic U.S., but our international friends from UIC. So I hope many of you do know that we are hosting and hosted yesterday a meeting of UIC, the Union for International Railways, and their focus primarily is high-speed rail and what we call commuter rail, regional rail. So yesterday they convened their meeting here. We participated in that, and then we had a separate session late in the afternoon to talk about ways that we can continue the collaboration between UIC and APTA. Last year, a number of us were in Paris where we signed an agreement, an addendum to an agreement that really solidifies our partnership. Ways that we can work together, share information, perhaps do practicums. Some of you might recall back in 2010 and 2011, those 2 years, through UIC, we held practicums here in the United States on high-speed rail. You have to go back a ways and say, gee, what was happening at that time? Well, what was happening was we had President Obama put forward at least $8 billion, I think it was. Karen, am I right about the $8 billion or so? 12 billion, okay. There you go. We'll up it to 12 billion. And it really gave high-speed rail a boost in the U.S. Everyone was excited. There's a lot of activity going on, and it really energized us, many of us who believe in high-speed rail and believe it's so important to our future. So UIC is here. I want to recognize our international colleagues and thank them for coming, being part of this. We wish they could stay longer, but the few that I've talked to said they're heading back home tomorrow. I don't understand that. How do you come to Washington, D.C., don't spend the entire week? Next time you have to do that. But over the Thanksgiving holiday, I don't know if you came across this, there's a news clip that came across from CNN about high-speed rail. Anybody see that by chance? It was very interesting. Jeff, you saw it, and my staff saw it and brought it to my attention. And it was a short little 3-minute piece, but it really chronicled kind of high-speed rail history across the globe in 3 minutes. And of course, as we know, high-speed rail had its genesis in Japan. And Japan had been the leader in terms of advancing high-speed rail all over the country. Of course, we then saw it cascade through Europe, and all the countries in Europe now have high-speed rail. And of course, China in the last decade has been just phenomenal in terms of its growth of high-speed rail, really in a dozen years, going from zero high-speed rail lines to now over 15,000 miles of high-speed rail in the country. So it's incredible. So what about us here in the U.S., right? Where are we? Well, we know we're behind the curve. We're not bashful about admitting that, but there's a lot of good things that are happening. And I want to commend our High-Speed Rail and Intercity Rail Committee because they have been extraordinarily active, engaged for many years, not giving up this hope and dream that we here in the United States will in fact move forward someday, and not too distant future, with a true high-speed intercity rail program as the country deserves. And so I want to thank Anna for your past leadership and your continued involvement. Chris Brady has been very active, and Chris, thank you for that. Peter Gertler, somewhere here in the room. And of course, Al Engel, who's not with us, but has really been a stalwart for moving this forward. And quite frankly, many of you, if not all of you, because the committee meetings that I've attended over the course of the years, they're usually standing room only. And it just shows, again, the varied interest that we have in promoting, advancing high-speed rail. So there's lots of work to do, but there's a lot of great stories. And part of what today's about is sharing a bit what's going on around the country. There's good news happening in Florida relative relative to intercity rail, higher speed rail. California, of course, continues to advance their high-speed rail program. We want to see that move forward. Recent activity in Nevada, connecting California, is another high-speed rail effort that's underway. And of course, intercity rail that has taken hold in the Northeast, not only the Northeast corridor proper to DC to Boston, but in Connecticut. And Anna, I know you had a very large role in terms of moving that forward as well. The Chicago region. So there's lots of activity that is going on in the U.S. And perhaps it's one of maturity. Perhaps our cities, our regions, our mega regions have to continue to grow to really make the case for high-speed rail. We know today, those of us who have followed this and are practitioners in this, that there are a number of corridors today in the U.S. that are just prime for high-speed rail. They really fit. The demographics work, the population works. So it's a matter of us continuing to beat the drum, continue to make the case on the Hill, and with those advocates that I think can look to the future and understand how important this kind of investment is for our economy, for our mobility, and for our continued prosperity as a country. So we put together for you, I think, a great program. Many of you are engaged in this, and again, I want to thank you for making your time and effort to be here to share with us. It's going to be a great day of learning, and so with that, I want to thank all of you for being here. Jeff, thank you for your leadership. You know, one of the things that APTA, and I'm very, very proud of, is that we continue year after year to draw from terrific people within the industry to lead our way. Neria Fernandez, who could not be here, just assumed her role as chair in October in our New York conference. Jeff Nelson as vice chair, which next year, Jeff, you will step into the chair seat. And they really provide the leadership to us as a staff to do the kinds of things that we need to do to make sure the agenda moves forward. So I'm very appreciative, Jeff, of your leadership. Looking forward to that this year and next. And again, we will continue to advance some of the things that Jeff talked about, advocacy being, in the broadest terms, the number one priority for us, advocating the importance of what we do in public transport, the importance of elements of that, high-speed rail, and the importance of bringing new investment to the country so we can continue to prosper and to provide the kind of growth for our communities and cities. So thanks for being here. Look forward to seeing you the rest of the day, and let's have a great meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff and Paul, for the leadership that has allowed the high-speed rail agenda to be promoted and thrive at APTA. It's been an excellent couple of years. A couple of other reminders, a little bit of housekeeping. We have organized a great roster of speakers for you, so please, let's help optimize everyone's experience and turn your phone to vibrate. Outside the conference room, we have a number of spaces that are available for your networking if that's what you suddenly need to do, and allow the speakers to continue uninterrupted. In order to maximize our content today, we ask you to go online for the bios of our speakers. You'll see their names and affiliations on the program, but we've decided to save some trees today and not print out all that material. Often at our meetings, we go around the room for introductions of everyone in the room, but we're not going to do that today in the interest of getting on with the program. So we ask you to identify yourself and your affiliation as you participate in the sessions today. And we do encourage you to participate. We want the forum to be as interactive and lively as possible. So I think that we hope that when we get to the Q&A sessions that you will be active and participate. I think we all recognize that economic growth is both the goal and the fuel for public and private action on public transportation and in high-speed intercity passenger rail in particular. And we hope this day will illuminate all of the policy contexts and needs moving forward to help us move toward implementation. So thank you very much. And I introduce Chris Brady, who will bring on our next speaker. Thank you.